Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to season 3 of DeenTalk. My name is Hamza Ahmad, and I'm one of the 3 co-hosts this season. Yes, 3. That's one of the big changes we've made to DeenTalk this season. We really want it to be for us and for the youth in order to explain what's going on in our lives as Muslim youth. And I'll let the other co-hosts introduce themselves.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Fajr Delane. I'm one of the other co-hosts. This is still a platform for us to be heard, share what's important to us. So I'm really excited for this season.
Assalamu alaikum, my name's Omer, and I'm also very excited for this season and to have a good time with our co-host today. Don't forget to add any questions to the hashtag DeenTalk on Twitter because we love hearing what you have to say about the show, and we love hearing about how you want to stay involved.
So today we have a lot of different interesting topics that we're going to be talking about, ranging from all the way to how Marvel superheroes are role models for us to how Islamic art involves us in every single day. We'll come back to that after the break, but right now I wanted to hear a little bit about how Sister Fajr, I heard you were part of the Howard University Hijab Fest director.
Yes.
So what exactly happened in that? What was it? And for the people that don't know.
Well, HU Hijab Fest, Howard University, we started our first ever HU Hijab Fest. It was really amazing because it was a first time ever event that celebrates the women that wear hijab, and we had great speakers. The Olympian Ibtihaj Muhammad came, Ayana Ife, who was on Project Runway, the runner finale, as well as Halima Aiden, the supermodel. So it was just outstanding. We had such great feedback. Deen TV actually did a little recap video, which was really excellent. Check it out if you haven't. Also, Meat Feeder magazine from New York did like this whole like preview recap of the event itself. So it's been pretty cool.
So can you like explain what they did there? Like what was the purpose of it?
Well, the purpose was just to bring these women together. I think like, you know, Ibtihaj Muhammad and Ayani Faye and the model Halima Aiden are doing great things. So just a platform to bring them together and for the local community to really see them in action and hear from them and their stories and have some type of connection. So we had like in the beginning like a conference. So we talked about different workshops and how can you be like a better Muslima and things like that. And at the end we had a fashion show. So it was really exciting. The outturn was like great. Like it was so much people. I couldn't find an empty seat. Like I was trying, but I had to stand up actually for a lot of it. But it was a great event overall. I'm really excited that we did it. So many people are like they want us to do more. Like they want it to be continual. So we'll have to see. But yeah.
And you were an organizer for this event, correct?
Yes. So I literally was working on it like all winter break. All winter break.
Like a month.
Yeah.
Not for high school students.
Yeah.
We got 2 weeks.
College students.
Kind of.
True.
Kinda
Yeah,
short.
it is. We actually have a whole month, but yeah, that whole time I was working, dealing with contracts, you know, emailing, booking people's flights, hotels, things like that. My most exciting thing was like picking up Ibtihaj Muhammad from the airport.
That's awesome.
Like it was just crazy because we had our security and everything, and she was wearing her Team USA jacket. And we were supposed to find her there. She gonna find us. And I was like, oh, my bad. So, yeah, it was really funny. But we gave each other a hug. And she was really nice, down to earth. And she was so excited for the event. She was like, I was really, like, hoping for an event like this because they don't really give us a platform. So, she was happy that she was able to be a part of this. So, yeah.
So was it only Muslim people or were other people coming out to see
There were
this?
other people, yeah. So, like, we had a lot of volunteers from, like, the whole DMV area. Participants came, like, from Georgia, you know, New York, different places, Philly. But, yeah, we had a lot of volunteers. There was non-Muslims there, non-Muslim volunteers, as well as there were some guys there, you know, as well. It was funny. We only had, like, a couple of them, but everybody was invited. So, it was still good to see the male show out as well, so. It was a good family time.
What's your biggest takeaway from the event?
My biggest takeaway from the event is really to celebrate who we are. I think it just gave a reimbursement for this year. It's like a Ramadan. You know, after Ramadan, you feel rejuvenated and stuff. So that's how I felt. I felt like everybody that left the conference just felt like this is what we really needed, and I'm ready to keep, you know, doing great things in our world. And our hijab is like really great because all these women, like the Olympian and stuff, are wearing hijab, but being great people. So I think it encouraged everyone in their own world.
So yeah, it all definitely comes together, and I guess they were like role models for the younger community there too, right? so like all the younger girls would be like looking up to them in the
Yes.
future.
Yeah.
And like at this time too, like whoever wants to be an athlete can be an athlete, and it just shows
Exactly.
like that. So after the break, we're going to be talking about how we're going to be after the break by Penny. We'll have a sponsored message by Penny Appeal USA, and we'll be talking about how Marvel superheroes can be role models or can't be. We're going to be discussing this, and we'll be back after the break.
So as you see here, there's a well being built. The locals used to walk miles to get clean, safe water, but now it's getting built right in front of the doorstep, which I think is a great thing. And you can see the women out here, the men out here, they're very happy to have this here. Please donate generously to this fantastic thirst relief project by Penny Appeal. Donate online.
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to DeenTalk. So one topic that I was looking around, like these days we have a lot of different Marvel movies coming out and superhero movies from DC to like the new Black Panther movie that came out. So I was going through, and I really like superheroes in general. So I was going through, and my brother, he went to the book fair, picked up a comic book, and he was like, "Hey Hamza, look at this." And he came home with this, Miss Marvel. And I was like, that doesn't seem like a more normal Marvel comic, right? So, and I started reading it, and it turns out that the main character in this, her name is Kamala Khan. She's a Muslim teenager, and it was really interesting to me to see how they made a Muslim Marvel hero. So what I wanted to see was, as I read through it, I noticed that a lot of stuff that they said wasn't necessarily along what we might see in Islam, because it wasn't written by Muslim people, of course. So, but personally, as a Muslim and as a teen, I sometimes look up to different superheroes because I see them as, oh, they have powers, and I feel like I can sometimes embody what they do, and I see that, oh, I can aspire to be them. So what do you guys think? I don't know if you've read this or not, but...
Well, yeah, so far from what I've seen, I think it's great, the concept, like, mashallah, Muslim, woo, superhero. But to be honest, I'm kind of like, I mean, I think I haven't actually read it, but from what I can see, I'm a little bit offended in the way of just like, you know, the kind of the storyline, the superhero she becomes, if you guys can see, is this like lady that doesn't, I don't know, she looked like, she has like blonde hair and like tights and all this type of stuff. And it's like, if this is a Muslim lady, it's kind of saying like, we really like want to look like this, and not, that's not the fact. Like, I love how I dress, I love my hijab. If I'm a superhero, this is my superhero uniform. You know, not somebody who doesn't wear hijab and looking like, you know, I don't know, the girl next door. So it's just like, I know who I am, and this is who I love, and this is what I want to be. So the fact that it's not written by Muslims, I think they're thinking like, oh, we want to look like this girl. And it's like, no, we want to look like Ibtihaj Muhammad. We want to look like Halima Aden, you know. So I think that's the perspective we could have got differently if it was a Muslim real author.
If I may interject, like throughout the book, it shows her progression. So in the beginning, she was like very insecure about herself, like, oh, I'm a Muslim teen. Like she went out, she like accidentally drank, and all that stuff that happens as a Muslim teen, right? Like her parents are very strict. Well, yeah, stuff a lot.
Yeah.
Not supposed to do that stuff. Not to, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so, but you have to notice that, like, there are people that struggle through this, and it does some way, like, growing up in a Pakistani family, that's what it's about. And at the end, she does become comfortable with herself and makes her own costume and stays, like, she's like, I don't want to be this person anymore. I want to be the good Muslim person that I'm growing up to be. So,
I mean, I just felt like, you know, generally speaking, I have grown up, like, watching, like, Arthur, or
Yes.
reading books like Calvin and Hobbes, like a comic book, but it was more about, you know, the common man, the common individual, the common woman going through common life. And what you realize is that a superhero or a role model in that sense is present, but not in the way that you think, right? And I think that's the beauty of it. It's that life is not as simple as being a superhero and wearing a cape and running around saving people. As human beings, we have to be capable at solving problems, and as youth or young people that we are and we're trying to empower, we can't look to superheroes in that way. I appreciate the effort by these two American writers to create, try to understand this. But at the same time, I mean, what are we really accomplishing by doing so? And what is this story really about? Is it about explaining what the Muslim household is? Because it doesn't completely accomplish that. And then is it really explaining like what it means to be a Muslim woman? And it really doesn't accomplish that either. So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like toys, the Captain America shield, because you see them going out and doing all the cool stuff, like fighting and doing all that stuff. But at the same time, they're trying to do it for a good cause a lot of the time, and that's why they have internal conflicts. So as a young person, I believe that they try to embody the good aspects of those, unless they try to be a villain, which in that case it doesn't work out.
I hear what you're saying, and I totally agree, and that's why I love superheroes. And like, I feel like just now, like Black Panther did a great job of like a lot of people can relate to it. The only thing with this, like as a Muslim girl, I can't necessarily relate to this because this is not all of our story. So this is some people's story that struggle with, oh, I don't know really what I'm trying to envision myself, but it would be cool, like, the fact that we're not represented a lot, it would be great to see a girl confident in who she is, but it is always, like, sometimes you have to progress there, but, like, if the superhero was, like, look like, because some people don't even know, like, some Muslims don't wear hijab, they're like, oh, they're not Muslim, and it's just like, oh, there is Muslims that don't wear hijab, but a lot of people identify Muslim women with hijab, so the fact that she doesn't wear hijab for the hijabi girl, who's like never seen herself, and they'll be like confused, like, is she really Muslim? I think there's a lot of kind of confusion for those that don't really know the whole Islamic realm.
And more than that, I think that for someone that's wanting to learn about Islam, the last thing I would do is
give that. I understand. Yeah.
I don't mean to be negative towards this book. It's just that it doesn't in my mind accomplish anything. And I think that I understand the argument that superheroes are important for internal conflicts. But there's a study found by a professor in the University of Massachusetts that found that people youth that are young kids that are reading these books are, not all of them, but many of them are tending to act more aggressive and be more aggressive towards problem solving, and not in the sense that not in the sense that you're being aggressively active towards something, but in the sense that you're like actively trying to physically engage yourself in a certain conflict. So I think in that sense, superheroes are great, and they are very important allegories, right? Like allegorically, like it's very important to have like an individual like Miss Marvel, who is a Pakistani teen growing up in America trying to figure out who she is. It's an important identity in individual, but is it the best way to introduce identity? And is it the most active way of doing so? Because you're just kind of like bringing up Miss Marvel, and you're expecting people to understand that she has a certain past.
Yeah.
But you're not doing anything to sympathize or empathize with that past. You're just kind of putting it out there, like she has like a brother who's like super religious, right? And then one part of it is like the father tells his son, he's like son, if you read too many du'as, you're gonna like not be able to eat because you're gonna starve. Like I mean, it's funny, but it's only funny when you look. It's like only funny because of its kind of dig at du'as. And was that really the best joke to make? So there's certain decisions that are made within this that make me really question how empathetical someone will be after reading this toward a Pakistani family.
And I think one of the main things is because maybe, I don't know what the authors did in this case, but if you are trying to create a role model for younger children and you want them to read, you have to make it factual. You have to do the research. You have to understand what happens, do the statistics, understand what actually goes on.
Yes.
And based on that, you can create a character. But if you don't have that background, if you don't have that experience, you're not going to get there. Such as in Black Panther, I think they did an amazing job explaining all the backstories and everything that happened, especially even with the villain, right? He had really good character development throughout the whole time. And even if you don't like the character itself, you understand what he's going through, and that helps create a bond with them, which is what younger people, I personally felt a great connection with Black Panther, because I loved how even though he had trouble in his family and everything going on, he still went through and persevered. And these good characters, these good morals are what I try to embody, even though, like my younger brother, he would try to be like Captain America, because Captain America is like the symbol of good in America, right? Like representation for all. Even if you're the weak person, you can become the strong, and that type of stuff really affects people around.
Okay.
So I mean,
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about not solving world problems, of course. You know, so we're not trying to come to a conclusion about this. We just want to really include and promote thought. So one of the things that I thought was interesting was that this came out in either
2014,
or
I think.
2000, it was printed in 2015, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. So what do you guys think has changed the way that we think of Marvel and Marvel thinks of minorities between like Miss Marvel and like Black Panther? Like on that continuum, what do you think has changed? And do you think that if Marvel was to come out with a movie about Miss Marvel, it would have a different type of story?
You guys can answer that question on hashtag DeenTalk. So
Yes.
actually keep on asking us questions, and we'll be going to another topic now, talking about art in Islam, right? And how that relates to everything. So we'll shortly be back after this break. Thank you.
Since August 25th of this year, over 600,000 individuals have fled from Myanmar into bordering Bangladesh. They've witnessed crimes against humanity. The United Nations calls what happened in Myanmar textbook definition of genocide, textbook definition of ethnic cleansing. We've been here for the last few months, providing them with access to clean drinking water, providing them with access to primary healthcare services, helping them build their shelters, as well as giving them weekly food distributions. We can't fathom what they've witnessed. The ones that have arrived into Bangladesh are the lucky ones. They're now residing in between the 22 to 25 official refugee camps that have now been established. With your continued support, we want to secure their future. We want to stay for the foreseeable future so that we can dig more water wells, so that we can provide them with more medication and more medical advice, so that we can help build more shelters, especially with the winter coming and the cold setting in. Please visit our website to find out more about our work and to support us with your generous donations. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Deen Talk. So for the second part of our show, which is 30 minutes long, we're going to be talking a little bit about Islamic art and its theology. What that really means is, how does Islamic art impact us, and how should it impact us in a sense? So we read a few articles. We did a little bit of research. And basically, the argument, there's really a lot of ways of looking at this. And one of the ways that we wanted to focus on this was talking a little bit about what Islamic art is and how it can impact us, and should it be a priority in the way that we try to really explain our religion to others. Like, is showing a picture of Islamic art on my phone and explaining it to my friend better than me trying to give out a Quranic ayah? And one of the ways that we can look at this is through this Quranic ayah, which is is this reward for ihsan anything other than ihsan? So like, what is beauty, and what is the reward for beauty, and how does that impact us? And then there's like hadith that God has inscribed beauty upon all things. So how important is Islamic art? And so when we're talking about Islamic art specifically, we're talking a little bit about poetry, Islamic art in the sense, geometric shapes, stuff like that. Right. So what do you guys think? Do you think that Islamic art should be a priority in the way that we explain Islam to Muslims, or should we really be prioritizing something else?
So personally, I'm not a very artistic person at all. I'm more like STEM, science, technology. I don't really appreciate like art that much compared to what normal people would, I guess. So when I see like a picture, or I go to a masjid, I'm like, subhanallah, it's beautiful. But in my opinion, that's not the most effective way to make someone like me get closer to Islam.
Okay.
It's more in like when you go to the Quran and you find the meanings and you go to like all the ayat that relate, and all the ayat can relate to some sort of like science, technology, something that we haven't learned yet. That's how all like me and my friends, right? Like we were learning about all the old scientists, right? The Islamic scientists during the golden age of Islam. And they would ask me, how did all this happen during Islam? Because they don't know much about Islam, right? So I would explain to them, and that's like a good way of making da'wah for the people that don't like understand the same way, like art, because they would be more towards like left-brained. I think is more like science and technology rated. So it depends on what the type of person is, I think, compared to if you like are artistic, then that's the way that you're gonna see it.
Well, I think that with our generation, you like how you said, it just depends on what really you're interested in. I know a lot of people in college and high school, like they just love the look of Arabic, so they like have it tattooed on them. In their bios, they'll have like their name or something. Sometimes they don't even know what it means, but they just love how it looks. So, you know, there's that thing where, you know, the Arabic or different things of art attracts just the normal person. That I feel like that also creates dialogue within Islam, but it is just like, what are you more interested in? Are you more interested in like meaning, or like that looks really cool? What is this about? What does this mean? I want to put this in my bio. I want to tattoo this. Like Rihanna has an Arabic tattoo.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Selena Gomez has an Arabic tattoo. And it's just like, you know, so like people are just interested in how it looks. So I think that also sparks the conversation, because when you see Arabic, you usually think of a Muslim, even though all people, it's not.
I mean, I guess
Arabic.
my question to that is, are we doing a good job of explaining Islamic art? Because, like, Islamic tattoos, not Islamic tattoos.
I mean, you're not supposed to get no tattoos.
Yeah.
Calligraphy aside, like, are we really claiming Islamic art for our own? Are we, as youth, taking it and really running with it in a sense?
I don't know. I think we just kind of do it, and I feel like, you know, it's more like we do it and people are just like doing it too, but it's like nobody really knows what they're doing. So it's like it just looks cool, but they don't know when
What's
they put this Arabic on,
significance
or when they write this Arabic, how significant it is, or how significant this ayat is, or this name is. Like, I don't think we do a great job of that. I think we just like, we do it and people just, oh, it looks nice, not like no real meaning to
like
it.
what's the reason behind using geometric shapes instead of like drawing nature or doing like drawing people, right? There's a bunch of like reasons why we do that, because you're not supposed to like draw icons like they do perhaps in Christianity. That's why they have like in their churches they have the cross and all the different things going on. So it all depends on the symbolism behind why we do it and the intention.
I mean, so I think there's two ways to look at this. Number one is that due to a lack of understanding Islamic art, we fail at making it something that has more meaning? Or is it because of the fact that art itself cannot be explained in such a way that we, you know, fail at doing so? Like, do we need to explain art better, or do we just not need to worry about it? What do you guys think?
I feel like it's more like, you know, art, when I think of art, it's always like a wonder. You know what I mean? You look at it and you're just like, I wonder what this means. Okay. Okay, for like most people though, like when you're talking about you going to an art exhibition, even if I'm not interested in art, you're just supposed to look at it and you're trying to like think about what the author. Okay, sorry.
I'm like the kid in the back.
I mean,
okay, for some people that goes to art exhibition and they're looking at the art, they're trying to see like, what is this author really talking about, or what are they like really envisioning? For like some people, not everyone, but I think that that's what some of the Islamic architecture, I think people are looking at it, but they don't have a clear message. Like they're like, this looks cool, but I don't know like why does it look cool and what does this really correlate? So I feel like that's really where we're stuck. Like people like it, they like to look at it, but I feel like the historical context isn't really explained with like underneath the art and stuff. I don't know.
I think that going back to Hamza, and I agree with you completely. I think I agree with you because I only started learning about the depth of geometric art and what it meant and how like certain geometric shapes meant like la ilaha illallah, stuff like that
because we are Muslim, right?
Right, but we researched it. And I figured that no one taught me that. No Sunday school goes into that detail. Right, but I think that the whole, even when you're looking back at like Islamic civilization, you talked a little bit about scientists. Those scientists were individuals that were champions of math, and those mathematics are what created effective art in the first place. So it's not like in the Muslim context, if you will, even if there is one, really. I think art is more than just the art that we look at in Western senses. Like it's the science as well. and it's the beauty of that science and that art which we consider to, in a sense, which I think that this individual in this Zaytuna College article is talking about. That's what they're talking about, the art of really science and Western art, and how that really affects the way that we think about Islam. And so in that sense, I think it can be very effective as a theological standpoint.
So art and science, of course, are really connected. Like a bunch of the original paintings that they would use were based off lenses. So because they wanted to create different like fisheye lenses and stuff like that in order to project images in certain ways. So that's how movies are made, right? Because you have to have it, both of them, I guess, do go hand in hand. And the most creative people are the people that understand both, because they know how to implement the technology that's being used in order to create something that's new and different. So if you don't have both hand in hand, you can't really understand something to the greatest extent.
That's true.
So I guess to understand, like maybe like in Islamic art, the 90 degrees symbolizes something that we don't know exactly. So,
right. And if we do like more research, that'll be great. But I think with architecture, art is very vast, so it can go into clothes, how you dress, and things like that. And one of the recent things that just passed was New York Fashion Week, and we had Halima Aden. She was walking in Fashion Week. But then there was this one designer who was a Muslim, and all the models are not Muslim, but he had like everybody in a hijab with like modest clothing. So that was cool to see, but like some people were like, it's cultural appropriation for like Muslims because they're not Muslim. But some people were arguing, well, it's still giving like we look cool, so like it's giving people another look of how to dress modestly. And also they were saying that modest dressing is not just for Muslims. Like there's Christians and Jews that used to do it, but you don't really see them like in a hijab now. So basically, he didn't like wrap it like regular, like he wrapped it like this. So like everybody was like, it represents Muslims, but they're not Muslim. So that's also a dialogue, but it also can spark the conversation of like, who wears this and what kind of religion is this? And then people can get interested in like, oh, what is this really about? So I feel like in art, whether it be architectural or clothing, it just sparks the conversation and it allows an individual to do research, and it's up to them to make a choice like that.
Right. Yeah, I think that, when we look at Islamic art in general, I feel like when you have those examples of Fashion Week and all that, there's so many applications. And if we start really realizing that and we start growing from that, we can be the main purveyors of that art, as opposed to, someone in Fashion Week who is not necessarily understanding, like this is what we were talking about, like Miss Marvel, for example. Someone who isn't understanding our faith cannot always explain it the best. And so as we move forward in this discussion, I think that we need to understand that. And let's move to
So we'll be back after a short break, ask questions on #DeenTalk, and then we'll answer them in the next section of the show. Thank you. Welcome back to Deen Talk. So now we're going to start answering some questions from Twitter and Sister Fajr.
Yes. Okay, so our first question we have is from Hassan Thomas, and it first says, I love being an African American. Mutahajaba. Okay. Never in my wildest dreams do I fantasize about morphing into a blonde, busting booty shorts. Like, for real though, that's what I was trying to say. That's why I literally got that picture, because it's like, that's not all our dreams. And I feel like from the non-Muslim author, he thinks that this is what we fantasize about. And it's like, no, like, we love what we're doing, and this is our superhero form with the hijab.
Yeah.
So I feel like having that accurate portrayal would be great. And I feel like the thing is with minorities, or like stories that are not told, it feels like you got to get everything right in this one like book. If it's not right, it's like you're doing it injustice. So the only way they can really like help with this is make more stories of different perspectives of people.
And I find it really interesting how all the guy superheroes, like Black Panther, fully like suited up and everything. But then the female characters sometimes like it's more.
Like they don't. They always have to be showing something. Like the guys are just as cool being all the way covered. Like everybody's covered, but every time we're a woman, it's like you gotta show some body parts or like that makes her more cool.
It does,
like we can be more cool with clothes on.
And going back to what it really requires is youth empowerment and our voice to shine. If we want these things to change, if we want a Marvel that our younger brothers and younger sisters are reading that is affirming of their own beliefs and affirming of what they imagine or dream, we have to speak up about that. We have to start going not only to Twitter, but talking to Marvel and be like, look, we want this. Or making our own comics, making our own superheroes. Because everyone, to some extent, can either write or draw, and people are talented. So
I agree. So we just gotta take it into our own hands and be like, we demand more stories that are accurately predicted of what we think.
And write those stories.
Yes. Yep. And then we have another question. It says, if Arabic tattoos and hookah get more people interested in Islamic culture first, then Islamic second, it's all good. Okay. So what y'all think?
I mean, what we were trying to say was that if we don't reclaim our own identity as artists in Islam, or for those of us who are scientists as well, we can't really let people understand why that calligraphy. I don't know about hookah, man. That's like traditional stuff. That's not really Islam, I don't think.
Yeah, it's not
that's
Islam.
more like
that's a whole other discussion,
culture.
guys. It's a whole other discussion. But like talking about like Islamic, Quranic, Hadith, or whatever tattoos people have nowadays, it's like if we don't tell people that look, calligraphy is that's the purpose of calligraphy. It's this, not that. We can't really have a discussion about whether they should have those tattoos or not.
Even the language Arabic, it's a language, correct?
Right.
So you can know any language that you want. It doesn't make it
Quranic or like
the way that the
Muslim or
Quran
anything
is
like
written, that's special.
Right.
Like, it's not from humans. So we can't really lay claim it's Islam. It's Islam, right?
I mean, sure. I guess that's a fair point. I'm just saying that if we were to really sit down and tell people, look, this is a significant calligraphy in the Muslim context, it would make it far easier for people to understand why we are not necessarily supporting tattoos or whatever it is, than for us to just leave it aside and let people decide on themselves. And then, some sheikh walks up or someone walks up and it's like, oh, that's like haram. Like, why? So it's easier, and there's a discussion about that as well. Yeah. But it's easier for us to really explain ourselves when we have and are owning that identity.
I agree. We have one more question. Oh, sorry.
I think we're kind of out of time today. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Inshallah, we will be back for our second episode of DeenTalk with our wonderful co-hosts. Everybody, thank you so much.
All right, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.